Well, this game came out of left field. Today we'll be taking a look at the video game My Friend Pedro. It released exclusively for Nintendo Switch and PC platforms. I'm not sure if there's going to be any future console releases. As of the making of this video, that's the platforms it has released on. The game is a 2D side-scrolling action platformer, or rather 2.5D, with a variety of excellent levels, great platforming surprisingly, and very robust gunplay. Overall, how do I feel about the game? Well, let's get right into that, kicking off with the story. The story goes as followed. You wake up as this hitman who's covered up in a mask and has a little banana companion who kind of tells you exactly what you need to do and where you need to go next. As you take down various hitmen, gangsters, and all sorts of evil thugs, you eventually unravel something a little bit greater throughout the story. The banana seems to be up to some interesting shenanigans, and there's some person that is really out for your head. Overall, you have to play the game to figure out these mysteries, and a couple of memes and jokes are strewn throughout. Overall, I thought the story was pretty solid. It was really funny and goes for a couple oddball left field things sometimes, but it works to the game's favor. Highly recommend you give it a playthrough. I don't want to spoil anything because some of the twists are just way too funny to pass up. Moving on from that, when you see the trailer for this game, chances are you're not really looking at it from a story perspective, although that's a tiny minor part of the game that has a lot of punchy humor and storylines that definitely hit well for this game. We're really here for the gameplay, so how is that? The gameplay is surprisingly effective. It's constantly throwing new ideals at you, always throwing in new movement patterns and different things to shape up and reshake the formula, and it just has a lot of great moments that definitely cannot go unplayed. The game offers a handful of mechanics. You have a variety of weapons ranging from mini Uzis to a burst assault rifle to a full-on sniper rifle, the usual weapons you see in these types of games, on top of course, the classic dual pistols. There's a dodge button mechanic. If you hold up or LB on your keyboard or controller respectively, you can dodge incoming bullets and stop it at any time of your choosing to pop a bunch of lead into your enemies' faces, and on top of that you have a roll option to help you get around fast like Sonic Speed, and of course the very ineffective but sometimes funny melee move, which gets the job done in very close encounter situations. There's also a focus meter that really harkens back to those Max Payne style days where you could slow down everything, do cool flips, shoot a bunch of enemies, that kind of thing, and that's always a fun mechanic to use. And on top of that, there's a bunch of in-game level stuff that shakes up the gameplay and formula, whether it's like making turrets shoot at enemies, or making them walk into electric fields, or swinging from ropes and stuff while shooting like Tarzan. If he had like a full Uzi strapped to both of his hands. You guys get the gist. There's a lot of really cool gameplay mechanics here, and they all work really well. The platforming is on point too. The jumping has a kind of physics-based quap feel to things, but it's never overbearing. It's never obnoxious in the way. It actually has a very floaty feel to it, which works to this game's benefit because it makes it easier to land on platforms. They're very generous with that, and I never really got frustrated except for a couple of sections here and there with platforming towards the end. But overall, it works out very well. The gunplay is also really dope. There's a lot of cool things you can do to really make you feel like you're in this action movie. You can right click with your mouse button to kind of pinpoint exactly where you want to aim with one gun, and then move your mouse around to shoot dual wield style by pointing left and right or up and down at the same time, while like diving from windows and all sorts of cool stuff like that. So there's all sorts of shenanigans you could pull off. Maybe you want to like unlock a part of the level and then take out all the enemies really quickly, so you like point one gun at the lever to shoot the lever, and then you flip the switch to open a door, and then you can point at other enemies while shooting those guys down, while dodging all the bullets incoming, and then use the right click to pinpoint another enemy while you take it. Ooh, I'm sorry, I'm getting technical, but gosh darn, it gets crazy. And that's what I really liked about the game. It has this really unique feeling of freedom, just allowing you to do exactly what you want to do in this 2D space. And that actually works to this game's benefit because there's a lot of ways to dispatch enemies, whether you get on a skateboard and literally kick it into their face, shoot an explosive barrel at them, kick the explosive gas tank and then kick it again and then blow that up, kick the explosive gas tank while kicking taking a ricochet frying pan and shoot the frying pan into the gas tank to take out enemies, while shooting the frying pan to take out other enemies, aiming a sniper through grated walls and then shooting through those guys, or grated fences, or whatever you want to call them. It just gets really unique, and I really enjoy everything they did here. The level design is also very cool. There's a lot of decent places to explore, take cover, you're always on the move, and it feels like the 2.5D version of Doom 2016, if you will. The music's always very punchy, electronic, and bassy. You're always moving at a constant rate, and I just really enjoyed what they did here, especially when it comes to the enemy design and stuff like that. Speaking of enemy design, I really didn't expect the enemies to put up that much of a challenge, but these guys can get really tough, especially when they start swarming you in encounters. You really have to go in there as smart as possibly can be. You don't have unlimited lives, you know, you don't have a limited life pool to pull from, so you will be dying a lot if you're gung-ho like myself. If you're not thinking tactically or pinpointing everything out there, you're gonna get blown back. But it is really fun to kind of sit down, treat these more of as a puzzle encounter. How do I have to dispatch each enemy? Let me look around the room, let me figure out my surroundings, that kind of thing. And then from there, the game becomes infinitely more fun because there's all these numbers of options. You can go in there just guns blazing, you could set traps up, you could ride a skateboard in and just go in guns blazing like earlier. There's all sorts of cool mechanics in the game, and the level design definitely panders to making you kind of choose how you want to play the game, sometimes even taking a full-on stealthy approach, although you will miss out on some enemy killing bonuses, which is kind of a no-go. You feel me? You definitely want the points to reach that S rank. Overall, the enemies themselves are pretty unique. There's your generic grunts with just the pistols. There's also some that have shotguns that can devastate your health bar, couple sniper rifle enemies, your armored guys that you have to roll or dodge to get behind, a full-on mech, the turret sections where they just kind of spawn down and shoot at you a whole bunch. You just gotta dodge through their bullets. They're generic, they're easy. There's also a one melee rushdown type that comes out, and they can be pretty fun to just gun down in swarms, but they get the job done. You know, I wasn't expecting super robust AI here, you know, some next level thinking. I just wanted some typical grunts and fodder, and they serve their job really well. They also come off as threatening, so I feel like they definitely did a good job designing these guys here, because you always have to kind of mix up your movement depending on who's all in the room. You don't want to completely, again, go gun-ho if there's two machine guys there on opposite sides ready to gun you down. You want to make sure you pinpoint, take down one of the gunmen, or take down both of the machine gun guys, then dodge everything in the room, and then handle the regular grunts later. You know, there's all sorts of tiny little elements like that that keep me engaged, and I've really enjoyed the combat rooms and arenas provided. They're just so much fun, and they really feel like these super cool contained playgrounds as you go from room to room slaying these thugs, and that's just a dope thing to me. So moving on from the gameplay, how do I feel about the presentation? Well, the presentation slash level design was also very well done, surprisingly. The first three levels, the skyrise, restaurant, and of course sewer, were really well done and offered a variety of great platforming challenges and never came off as annoying at all. They were really cool. Definitely enjoyed everything that they presented, always offering these new ideals, these new concepts. It was always moving at a constant rate, and the jokes there, especially the sewer levels, were pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie, it definitely wanted to keep me going and playing the game. They did get a little bit frustrating at times, but that was more to my inexperience rather than the game itself. I just was going way too fast. I needed to slow it down, and I like how the game kind of makes you, you know, dictate your pace a little bit when it comes to certain levels, kind of temper your expectations, if you will, and makes you slow down your gameplay style. You know, it's like the game's like, hey, it's okay to take your time. You'll still get that A rank, that B rank, but you gotta play smartly. And I liked how the game's levels definitely rewarded that. The flipping switches and ricochet bullets, of course, are just always a great thing to mess with. I loved all the wall jump and platforming there, where you're just kind of bouncing from wall to wall and shooting enemies down. Like, that stuff never gets old. Always was satisfying to pull off, and the levels just offer that in strides. Where things get a little dicey is the final world, in my opinion. I wasn't really a huge fan of these moments where you literally stop everything you're doing to let a laser kind of spin around slowly or wait for platforms to move up. Never really a fan of that in certain games, especially in a game as fast paced as my friend Pedro, because everything's on the move. You're always moving. There's enemies like literally waiting to gun you down, but you have to wait on this super slow platform to kind of move across or wait for the timings or whatever it may be. And the electricity was basically a one-shot instant kill. Now, it did get kind of fun when you had to maneuver yourself through certain parts of it. Like, there's one where you're going down ropes and you're trying to get through all these electric minefield, if you will, without tripping any lasers lasers and stuff like that, so that was kind of interesting, but it still came off as really frustrating. I had to like slow everything down just to get past these couple of sections, and it felt a little bit of padding, I felt a little bit of like, all right, this is dragging a bit too much, let's get to the chase, what I'm saying, let's cut to the chase, let's get on with it. But yeah, I know it's just those are like minor gripes, nothing huge. It's just a little something that made me upset. But overall, the level design in the game is pretty A1. Everything was really great, and there's a lot of cool, interesting levels, and just a lot of good stuff that breaks up the pacing, and I just loved every second of it. Overall, My Friend Pedro was the arcade game I didn't know I wanted this year. It's definitely one of the games that was a complete surprise to me. I was looking forward to it. It was short, it was sweet, it was simple, definitely worth the $17 to $20 that you could get it for right now. It's like $17 on sale, 10% discount or something like that. Probably gonna go back up in price after I make this video, but regardless, it was a very good experience, and I highly recommend you give it a shot, because for 20 bucks, 3 hours or so, you're gonna get a lot of replay value out of this game. There's all these S ranks you want to go for, a lot of cool mechanics you want to test out and play around with, and the physics-based gunplay and that kind of thing, and the twin stick arcade shooting and the multipliers and all of that. Like, it just never gets old. I love every aspect of it. It's just a really fun time. So, with that all being said, I really recommend My Friend Pedro for the Switch and PC. If you guys have the stuff for it, please go ahead and get this game, especially with the summer. There's not much popping, you feel me? I definitely think you should pick this one up in your repertoire and get through one of the more interesting summer games of 2019. I'm Young Falcon signing out. Thank you guys all for watching my video. If you like the content, you already know what to do. You've been on YouTube long enough. Thank you so much for checking out this video, and comment down below if you are interested in My Friend Pedro. I kind of want to hear your guys' thoughts on it, or if this review was insightful in any way, shape, or form. Thank you so much for spending time with me. Have a good one. Peace.